Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for being with us on the program. Happy Friday to you. Happy pre-Super Bowl JJ and Alex version of the program today to you. Joining us on the program right now, sitting in for JJ, who happens to be in Santa Clara, California for, we can call it the Super Bowl because we're not giving anything away right now. Sly, what's going on? Steven Sylvester, of course, the our
Pinch
dude
hitter.
who comes in and
Pinch hitter.
It's not just that, man. Like, you're the pinch runner, pinch hitter. You could just be all the pinch, please. That'd be great. So
You guys can still take the credit. I don't need it. I just like to play the game.
Here's how much Sly is in our studio too. You and me were a promo like last week on Instagram, dude.
Were we?
Yeah, it was like a back and forth. I start off arguing about something and I'm saying something, and then it cuts to you and I go, "Oh yeah, Sly, he deserves a promo. Absolutely, Sly needs a promo. Come on, man.
Let's do it.
It was all about the college football playoff stuff and just how the committee didn't want to budge on anything, and the SEC and the Big Ten were fighting, and so the usual.
Hey.
The usual. So it's a fun weekend to have a guy who played in the Super Bowl sitting to my right, and of course JJ is out covering the Super Bowl in Santa Clara for KSL 5 Television and for us here at KSL Sports, and somebody's asking me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, how lucky is JJ? He gets to go to all these things." I'm gonna be totally honest.
You're going to talk to JJ. He would not agree.
When you go to a lot of Olympics and you go to a lot of Super Bowls, you tell people it's a great opportunity, and then you also go, those are some hard days of work. Well, and so right now we have Sam in Milan Cortina, and so JJ's having to pick up all of the slack here back in Salt Lake City, and then they go, and also go cover the Super Bowl this weekend. So MVP award goes to JJ this weekend over Sam Farnsworth. It was the closest MVP race that we've had between the two sports anchors in 23 years. So we're glad that was able to happen. We were able to throw that down. All right, we're kicking off the show, of course, as usual with the cut. So why not start to get things kicked off here talking about the biggest event over the weekend? I'm not talking about the opening ceremonies, although those were pretty fun to watch.
Oh, talk about waste management?
I'm not talking about the waste management. I call it the wasted management, by the way.
Yeah.
Those guys are
great rename.
Pretty wild. Let's get going on the cut. Let's jump right to it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Joining us on the program right now, Bryan DeArdo joins us periodically for us to, of course, jam on everything NFL related, and he's doing that again today. Bryan, thanks for being with us today, man. We appreciate it.
Anytime. And I was watching the waste management. That looked like a course that it's fun to watch, not necessarily very fun to play, especially on the putting greens.
It does look tough, but everybody says it's an event, and it certainly is its own thing. It is definitely unique. And all the other tournaments that are going to be like, well, how could we be more like the waste management? And people are like, yeah, you don't want to know.
Augusta wants to be more like waste management.
Right. You don't want to know how they get there. But Bryan, of course, covers the NFL for CBS Sports, and nice enough to throw in his rankings this week of the first 59 Super Bowls. How was it going through all 59 of those? Because I'm trying to figure out, I can barely even wrap my head around sometimes from year to year who was playing in the previous ones. But all of these are difficult. I know which ones were bad, including my Seahawks back in 2013 beating up on the Broncos. It started with a snap over the head, and it didn't get any better. Where did that one rank on the list? Because that was the first thing I was looking at. Like, I as a Seahawks fan, can tell you it is not a good Super Bowl.
It's about second to last, I believe. I believe the worst one was 35. Now, to answer your first question, I just have always been obsessed with Super Bowls. It's like a Rain Man thing for me. Like, my wife will tell you, like, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but if you tell me a Super Bowl number, I can tell you the MVP, the score, who played in it. I've always been obsessed with it. So when I got that assignment, I started about a month out. I decided to just summarize all of them first, then rank them together. The one thing I found, though, I feel like there's like 5 that are definitively better than all the other ones. So it's kind of really, to me, doesn't matter what order you put those 5 in as long as those 5 are in the front.
Well, that's what I was wondering is like how, because obviously you look at it and go, well, it was a close game. That's what kind of makes it. I feel like that's just a piece of it because there's a lot that also goes into it. So what were the determining factors that gave you this definitive top 5? And I'll run through it real quick here for people who want to go and they can see where their teams are in this one. The Super Bowl in 2009 between the Steelers and the Cardinals. My co-host today, Stevens and Sylvester, played in that Super Bowl down at Jerry World.
No, I didn't play in that one.
Oh, no, you're in 10.
I was in 10.
You were the next year. Okay. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to bring up.
I was at the Sugar Bowl at that time.
I didn't want to. Oh, yeah, that's right. I didn't want to bring up harsh feelings. But that was a good one. That was Santonio Holmes with the tippy toes.
Incredible
right?
game.
That was also the James Harrison oxygen mask game too. Yeah. So that for me does it. But what were the criteria that you got your top ones with?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was competitive games, start to finish, notable plays, performances, and then the enduring history, legacy, right? And, you mentioned 45. That one was so weird for me. It was just outside my top 20. It was right next to the Super Bowl where the lights went out with the 47 Ravens and 49ers. Mm-hmm. Those Super Bowls are so weird to me because, they were really good games. Packers-Steelers was a great game. But it's just never really remembered in the pantheon of greatest Super Bowls. I'm guessing the reason why is there was no lead changes. Green Bay led the entire way. There were some drops in there. So as far as the cleanliness of the game, there really wasn't much of one. And then the last drive for the Steelers, there was really no drama. Green Bay kind of ended it pretty quickly, but it was still a great game. To me, and this is the craziest part, I picked 25 Giants-Bills missed field goal. I had a lot of insecurity unnecessarily for 48 hours because I scanned the globe and the internet for any other ranking that ever put that number 1, and it was unanimously no. So I'm sitting around why am I putting this game? Nobody. It's always in the top 5. I feel like 42, Giants, Patriots, the upset.
Right.
That one, the Patriots comeback, and the Cardinals-Steelers Super Bowl. Those are kind of always unanimously, and the 49, the interception, Malcolm Butler, Patriots, Seahawks.
Yes.
Those are kind of always top 4 with this one right behind it. But, again, with my criteria, this game start to finish, 4 lead changes. It was never – a blowout anyway. The missed field goal at the end. The great Giants, strategy with control the ball for 40 minutes. The Bill Belichick game plan to basically concede the running game and not allow the Bills passing game to beat them. It just had all the elements to me to be number 1.
Yeah, Scott Norwood, man, broke a lot of hearts that day.
Oh yeah, he did for sure. For me, I got stuck. With the first 10, from 59 to 50. How did you even finish this, bro? Because for me, it just brought me back to my childhood when I'm sitting 3 feet away from the TV screen watching NFL films and seeing all these games. So it's so many memories.
They run all together, yeah.
Yeah, how did you even finish this? Because I got stuck. I remember that game, that Raiders and Redskins. That was a crazy game on NFL films. It was dope. This, and this. I didn't even know how you got all the way to 1. You said you had a month. It would have took me a year to get down to the criteria. But you said that you're just a nerd with all this, which we all are. We're a sports nerds.
Yeah, not to this level, though.
How fun was that just being assigned to this and then going through it and making all that happen?
Yeah, not to get corny, it was literally a dream come true for me. I grew up, again, John Facenda, Steve Sable, like you're talking about, those Super Bowl highlight videos, that to me used to be Super Bowl Sunday. I don't even watch all the pregame shows.
I just
My Super Bowl Sundays were forever on. Yeah, ESPN too. It start the Saturday night, they'd start Super Bowl 1, and then you literally would go all the way through. And the crazy part is, Brett Favre, the morning of Super Bowl 31, was watching all that stuff. Was watching 24th Montana with the when he called an audible. And then he's playing in the same stadium later that day against a Bill Belichick defense and calls an audible, which was the same audible because they had the same offensive system, the West Coast offense with Mike Holmgren. So, to kind of tie it all together. So, again, if you were just a kid back then, 80s, 90s, with those Super Bowl highlights, it made football like a Star Wars movie. It made it more than just a game. It was a cinematic experience, ballet in slow motion, you could say. And but to answer your question, though, the thing that I always told myself, the biggest thing with 59 to 50 and 49 to 40, for me it was a lot about competitiveness. Mm-hmm. How long was the game competitive? So 40 or 22, for example, it was 35-10 at halftime. So it wasn't close after the second quarter. However, all 35 points by Washington were in the second quarter, which is a Super Bowl record. You have Doug Williams being the first black quarterback to win the Super Bowl. So the game in itself was a rout. However, the historical elements moved it ahead of other games. So 48 for, the Seahawks-Broncos game, that was a blowout. That was ranked ahead of that one because there's just many more historical elements. But the other thing I also said, people aren't going to nitpick it that much from like 42, 41. What really you got to nail it down is that top 5. And I took a risk with 25. Not everybody's going to agree with me. I could have been safe and picked 42. The Giants, Eli upset. But just for me, start to finish, I just thought 25. And you had the Whitney Houston national anthem.
Oh, of course.
You had the back for dropping the ball forward. There was just every single element of that game checked the boxes. Now, Scott Norwood makes that field goal. It's number 1. Nobody argues. You're not going to hold it against this game that he missed it, right?
I'm looking at this too, and my brain always goes to the worst games sometimes. Like, it's easy to pick the worst games. It's easy to pick the best ones, but the worst games, we've had a lot of blowouts in Super Bowl history, man. I remember when I was a kid, I was living in Dallas during that reign of the Cowboys, of that streak of 3 that they, when they won 3 out of 4 years, and it was that 52-17. Leon Lett could have made it 59. Was it Don Beebe who ran him down? So that game was a blowout. There are so many blowouts that I've witnessed here, and I'm like, how do we get to the Super Bowl and get blowouts in the league that has the most parity in the history of the game?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Well, right, but back then, as we all know, the parity really wasn't quite there anymore. I mean, because that Super Bowl right there, Super Bowl 27, I mean, that was right at the end of right before the salary cap era, right? So you had Dallas with those stocked rosters. I think, what did Jimmy Johnson have during that point? He had 51 different trades during that period to build that dominant team. So, and I think Buffalo lost Jim Kelly in like the first or second quarter in that game. So you have that major injury, the 9 turnovers that the Cowboys forced. But I think to your point, though, and it's an amazing point. The craziest thing is when you're doing this list, basically almost every great Super Bowl is in this century because of the parity and the salary cap. Roger Goodell said it earlier this week, which blew my mind. 8 division winners this year in the NFL, 7 new ones, including the 2 in the Super Bowl. So, again, to your point, harder to have those blowouts, and that's why it was weird to have number 1 from the 90s, 1991 specifically, because that was right in the middle of all these blowouts in the NFC's reign of 13 straight Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, man. So who was the most, going through all of this, and I was actually just looking at, like, all of the crazy MVP winners, and I was surprised. I thought Tom Brady only had 2 Super Bowl victories.
Those quarterbacks they get the MVP if they don't want to give it to anybody else.
Right. So going through all of this, like, who was the most unique MVP that you've seen, right? Like, from, like, defensive guys, from Jake Scott, and I seen the Redskin ones, and
it's got to be Larry Brown from the Cowboys.
Larry Brown and Cowboys, against my Steelers. But like, what was the most unique MVP that you came across with putting this list together?
That's such an amazing question. I've never been asked that. I would say probably, you could start with Chuck Howley, the first MVP from a losing team, and the only one from a losing team, the Cowboys Super Bowl 5, had 2 interceptions. Here's a weird one, though. Dexter Jackson was the MVP of 37, Tampa, Oakland. He had 2 interceptions. However, Dwight Smith, his teammate, also had 2 interceptions. They were both pick sixes. So it was like, why did you pick one one defensive back over the other one? But, yeah, I think it's because Dwight Smith's interceptions were so much earlier in the game. I think another one that I've always kind of been interested in as far as MVPs, Terry Bradshaw, the MVP of Super Bowl 14, even though he had 3 interceptions. John Stallworth, a lot of people have always argued that he should have been MVP. He only had 3 catches, but he had the 73-yard game winner and a 45-yarder that kind of put the game on ice. And both catches were pretty incredible. So those are just kind of 2 that stand out right now. But there's another one that I got to say they weren't the MVPs, but Joseph Adai and Dominique Rhodes I always thought should have shared the MVP, and it was 41. Peyton Manning's one. Manning played well in that game, but Adai and Rhodes had both. They should have been co-MVPs in my opinion.
I think that we were looking at the Tom Brady one because we were like, I think he's won 5, and he did. He's won 5 MVPs. Yeah. And I think the first one was funny because Sly was like, I think he threw 145 yards and 1 touchdown, and you go, I don't know. I think everybody was just kind of impressed that the guy
actually did it.
Well, he was coming in, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's the backup dude from when he was a backup in college, too, and he came in and did it. So there's also that part, and there's a little bit of maybe some history in the making with Sam Darnold, of course, in this game. When you see this matchup, and I'm a guy who rooted for the Seahawks a lot growing up, grew up in that area, and I even recognize, too, that this doesn't feel like it has the same edge as some of these other Super Bowls of late have had. Have you gotten that same sense, or are people excited about this one as much as they are about every Super Bowl?
No, I can see my page views and our page views this week. They're down. People aren't really as fired up for this one. So I don't know. it's funny because people always say there's Chiefs fatigue, but this time last year we had a lot more excitement, at least for our website around this game as far as viewership. So I do think that there is not as much excitement. That being said, I mean, because again, what are games driven by? What at the end of the day, it's about entertainment and star power, right? It's like an action movie is going to be better in the day if Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sly Stallone's in it, right? It's not going to have the same appeal if I'm in the movie, right, or one of us is the leading man. So I think we need in this game. I'm sure they would love if Drake May kind of came out of the woodwork and kind of had a game that kind of put him on the map. But here's the guy I'm hoping does well for a few reasons. A, because he went to my alma mater. Jackson Smith-Njigba. He had 300 yards in a Rose Bowl a couple of years ago when Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson up there. You Utah guy. I'm so sorry, man. I need better self-awareness.
We were both at that. We were both at that Rose Bowl.
Game, though. That was an amazing game.
Well, I want to share with you, and I take this as a compliment. And I hope I'm not throwing salt on the wounds. I'm an Ohio State alumni. I was there right after, in between national championships. Mm-hmm. That was one of the most satisfying wins of my life because of the fact that Utah was such a good team, and they had all the momentum. They were winning basically the entire game, and we didn't have Olave and Wilson in. And I remember just sitting there thinking, man, whoever is in this game, I hope they win because it validates that these games still matter. That it's not all about national championships. To see Jackson Smith-Njigba step up and C.J. Stroud step up. And whenever Buckeye fans ridicule him for not winning anything big when he was here, I always point to that game. So, again, no disrespect to Utah. And really, it's nothing but love for me because it was such an amazing game and they were such a great team. And it's one of the most underrated moments for me as an Ohio State fan in OSU history. And I think Smith-Njigba could have another one of those games. I get Jerry Rice flashbacks sometimes watching him play because he still gets the ball, even though everybody knows he's going to get it. And just like Rice, he makes a lot of his damage in slant passes over the middle.
All right, can you go a little bit, going back to your list real quick, in Super Bowl 25, you got, the Giants and the Bills and Whitney Houston winning your top spot there. A little bit more into what that game really brought to get it to number one over some of these other ones like the Giants-Patriots matchups or even the Giants-Falcons matchups. And, of course, the drama is what really gets to it in the storylines. But in that top one right there, what really brought you to that decision?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think for me, 42, the Giants-Patriots, 17-14. There wasn't enough scoring for me. Mm-hmm. There's 30 minutes plus in that game where both teams scored on their opening drives, and then neither team scored again until the fourth quarter.
Right.
So to me, the best Super Bowl ever, and it wasn't like it was just great because I love defense, but it wasn't a very clean game by either offense, really. I mean, and so for me, 25, it wasn't, the offenses played well, the defenses played well. There were no turnovers, but there was the Bruce Smith safety. It was always close. There was scoring at every element of the game. And I just think, again, you had the Whitney Houston backdrop, the Gulf War. People were in tears before the game even kicked off. Everybody was so emotional. And it was similar to 36 after 9/11. I think America just needed something to feel good about and get their minds off of everything that was going on. And 36 did that, and 25 absolutely did that.
Right.
And I just think also, the fact that the Giants had a backup quarterback. They had a backup 34-year-old running back in Otis Anderson. They weren't supposed to win that game. You have two Hall of Fame coaches, Belichick and Parcells, who just come up with this amazing game plan that we're just going to control the ball. We're going to have, control the ball for 40 minutes with third down completions. And Mark Ingram, one of the most underrated plays in Super Bowl history, the 3rd and 13 conversion, where he breaks 5 tackles to get the first down. You've got the Bills and Thurman Thomas. It was an unbelievable performance in a losing effort. The last drive, right down to the wire. Like I said, the only thing that's really missing from this game is a last-minute touchdown. The last score was 8 minutes left. But again, I don't know if there's ever been a perfect Super Bowl, but I just think this one just checked all the boxes from a drama standpoint, an entertainment standpoint, a competitive standpoint, and a memorable standpoint. And I think that really set the bar for all the Super Bowls that came later.
All right, Bryan DeArdo. He talks about Super Bowls like we talk about children. He's like, oh, man. Yeah, I remember fondly 31. Referring to them as numbers is actually a different level, too.
Yeah.
I'll talk about maybe the years that they were in, but, the way you talk about these things, I love that you said it's a dream come true to put together these Super Bowls because you can hear it in your voice, and we love having that. Appreciate the breakdowns, and I hope that this one turns out to be one that is for the ages as well. At least keep it close so we can get it in the top 10 for next year's list, Brian. We appreciate it.
That's right. And speaking of kids, my 3-year-old's been in the car the entire time while I've been doing this, so I'm going to reward her with a cookie now. And, yeah, it's always good to be on with you guys, and let's hope we have another great game.
There you go. Bryan DeArdo. It's a good market to have the kids on the phone with, by the way. People understand. They get it.
Or the dogs. You went ham on the guy with the dogs the other
Who
day.
had the dogs?
I forgot.
It was, it might have been Pete Futak.
Yeah.
He had all those dogs. I was like, now, hold on a minute. Tell me those dogs' names. Have they been good boys today? I do. I'm all about it. When I heard the 3-year-old in the background, because I have a 3-year-old, and she's in the background all the time. There's a lot of like Teams calls that I have for work that I'm like, oh boy. Good thing I can put this on mute while somebody else talks. Yeah. It's difficult, so we get it. All right. Let me see here. We got to let's take a break. We'll come back. We're going to have Sam Farnsworth on at some point here in the program. I just trying to work it out scheduling wise for him as he's in Milan Cortina. Such is life right now. It's almost midnight there on the continent, so we're going to get some thoughts on the opening ceremonies, thoughts on some of the biggest athletes here, of course, from not just the state of Utah, but also Team USA overall. The games are underway. Of course, that's how it works. They are already kicking things off, and we're excited about it. So we'll let you know when we get Sam available as well. So stay right here with us. More to go. 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.